Value Wales is a team sitting within Welsh Assembly Government, and what we're there to do is act as a catalyst for the Welsh public sector to make sure that the £4 billion the Welsh public sector spends every year is spent as efficiently as possible to get maximum value for money, and at the same time, very importantly at the same time, advance the Assembly's Sustainable Development Agenda, which includes economic development. In other words, more jobs for Wales. I think the main barriers to SME engagement with the Welsh public sector is really awareness on both sides. Awareness from the SME side that we are genuinely very keen and open for business with the SME sector. There's a perception among some SMEs that it's only the large companies that need apply, and that's certainly not true. On our side, on the buying side, I think equally there's sometimes a perception that of the very smaller suppliers, it's difficult to fit in with our requirements. So we've got an awareness issue on both sides. In addition to that, another key barrier I believe very strongly is the relative lack of skills on the buying side on the Welsh public sector, whereby we haven't got enough professional procurement buyers in place. And an element of that, those who are not professional, is a lack of confidence in dealing with smaller suppliers, and that's something we need to and are addressing. Well, Value Wales and Welsh Assembly Government, we're working very hard to remove the perceived barriers to SME engagement, and we have a number of measures underway under the auspices of the Business Procurement Task Force, which is chaired by the Economic Development and Transport Minister Andrew Davies, and has on it senior members of the Welsh public sector and indeed the supply side, including, for example, the Federation of Small Businesses. And the idea is that provides strategic oversight and leadership to our various measures to removing these barriers. I'll just mention a few of them. For example, we have the Sell to Wales website, which is very important in terms of all business opportunities from the Welsh public sector are advertised there, and they are sent to any company, any SMEs that is registered on it, and that's very important. We also are developing a charter of best practice, which we will ask the entire Welsh public sector to sign up to, and this charter will consist of best business practice in terms of engaging genuinely and openly with the SME sector in Wales. So that's very important as well. In addition, we have other guidance that we have developed, and we have a programme of ongoing advice and guidance that is to be developed. And finally, I'd like to mention with the contracts that Value Wales itself is taking forward, collaborative contracts across part or all of Wales, we ensure that all of this best practice is reflected in what we actually do. So if you will, we are leading by example. Well, in the view of Value Wales, we believe that combining and aggregating contracts and better access for small and medium-sized suppliers is entirely compatible. Indeed, it's central to what we are doing. We believe we can get better value for money by aggregating contracts. However, the way in which you do it is critically important. The way in which we do it is we break it down into lots geographically and in other ways so that smaller, more local suppliers can actually and do, and we encourage them to bid, and that way we could end up with a framework of suppliers, which is fine. So aggregation and SME access, in our view, there's no conflict whatsoever, and that's very important that we ensure that there isn't. It's very important that any organisation that wants to get its best out of its procurement function must recognise the importance, the value that a good procurement operation can add to that organisation in terms of value for money and advancing sustainability. So the key point is any individual organisation must recognise that at a senior level and must support the attempts to get better value for money and sustainability. And an aspect of that is that procurement must not be seen in a box. It's a holistic approach to the corporate goals of the organisation and right across the organisation itself. If you're going to get the most out of procurement, expenditure and value and sustainability, you must engage with areas not traditionally associated with procurement, such as ICT and construction and the whole estate, surveyors, HR, communities, etc. So it's very important that the procurement operation has high-level support, is strategic and cuts across and gets involved with and is valued by the breadth of the organisation.